there and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Yeah, my name is Jacinti Caldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cup, and what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
Oh, Jesus Christ, if cost of living double, I don't know what happened. A pound of sugar is $300 already. Flour, everything gone up. Everything just raising. You gotta get about $40,000 for buy good ration. You gotta get 3 man now. A weekend man, a monthly man, and a fortnight man.
Good night and welcome to Straight Up. Let's get ready to rumble right here on 107.1 FM. Let's get straight down into business. Look, I got some feedback from some folks. They say, hey, Mark, the introduction is too long. And some folks in Guyana, it's 9:35 in Guyana right now. And so after a hard day's work, those vendors, good night to all of you, and all of the hardworking people, and even if you just don't work, you collect handouts, especially those members of parliament, those on the PPP side, some on the opposition side. But the ministers, they're the ones who collect handouts, right? They're the biggest welfare recipients in Guyana. And so they don't work. The ministers don't work. What work they do? Drive around, make sure their friends get contracts, make sure they set up companies for contracts and all these sort of things. So they don't work. They go into the office, they check on Facebook to see what's going on. They gossip, they go in inboxes, they gossip, they eat nice fancy food. Most of them have never eaten fancy foods in their entire life, but they're eating fancy foods, compliments of you, the taxpayers, whether you're a bauxite worker, whether you're a sugar worker, whether you're just a farmer, whatever it is, that they're using your money to live a fancy lifestyle. That is what they're doing. Most, if not all of them. And almost all of the ministries, corruption upon corruption upon corruption. I can just say it all the time until Dr. David Hines joins us. By the way, that gives you a hint that Dr. David Hines is on with us tonight. We are going to get straight down to business, no zigzagging, no dilly-dallying on anything, no skin teeth. And I will be checking the audience, no skin teeth, no distraction. Absolutely not. It will not be tolerated. These are serious times now. And if you're going to be in the comment section mind you, if you're going to be in the comment section, well, then we've got to rumble. We've got to get straight down to business. And you guys can flirt with each other. Yeah, don't get me wrong, right? This is not a concentration camp. This is not Freedom House. You're free to loosen up and have fun with each other. But be careful with those who want to distract from what the subject matter is. Be very, very careful with those individuals. What else is happening in your neck of the woods? Well, I just give you a little hint. David Hines, Professor David Hines, Dr. David Hines, he went to university. We all know the university he went to. He's from a village. Well, of course, Philippi Village is the #1 village in Guyana. Buxton is #5 because, Blueberry Hill, and you have Alley, First Alley, not that waste of time alley. We're talking about First Alley, Second Alley in Linden. Those are the top areas. Then Buxton comes 5th or 6th. So the Buxtonians in the audience, they're going to get vexed. But I'm on air. They can't catch me. They can't beat me. That's it. What else is happening? But Dr. David Hines is going to be with us. I want to ask him some questions about the WPA. I want to ask him about biometrics. I want to ask him some questions tonight. But just a few minutes. I noticed Miss Denise Booker, she will probably get blocked tonight. Let me know if I should block her, because Buxton is not the #1 village in Guyana. I love Buxton. I love the Buxtonians, most of them, not all of them. But Buxton is not the #1 village in Guyana. And whether our guest, Dr. David Hines, gets angry or not, it's okay. I have control of the microphone. I can mute him at any point in time. Dr. David Hines, the man from the #5, the fifth village, the 5th most successful and brave village in Guyana, Buxton. Good night to you, Doc. How are you?
Good night, Mark. I am surviving by God's grace, as they say. Yes, I'm all right. How about yourself?
I'm great. I'm glad that you're not touching that particular subject. The 5th bravest village in Guyana is Buxton, not the #1. The #1 village is Philippi Farm on the Quarantine. The #2 community is First Alley, Second Alley, and Third Alley. Buxton.
We are a gracious people. We've been #1 now for 150 years, and we don't mind. We don't mind stepping aside and retiring for a moment and allow others to take the #1 spot.
Good night to you, Dr. Hines. Good night to all of the beautiful people all across Guyana, wherever you're from. Good night to all of you. I notice we have a new listener every single night. People go out and they create pages. I see they get a David G watching us now. David G. and keep an eye on David G. They're going to start off nice and then licks later on. You just watch. I know some of them. So, Dr. Hines, as we begin, I want to touch on this. And good night to all of our listeners, wherever you're from. This is a family program, and we're all family in the audience. So sometimes we touch on each other's nerves. It's okay, but we're all family. That's what family, it happens in family. Nancy will definitely be kicked off tonight. Nancy is saying #1 is Buxton. But before we go on, how many of you think Philippi, my village, Philippi on the Quarantine is #1? Let me see. Or any village on the Quarantine. Come on, guys. Don't let the Buxtonians intimidate you guys tonight. Don't let them do that. But Dr. David Hines, again, welcome. I just want to say before we begin, I noticed that the installed regime, members of the installed regime, or so the installed puppet president, is rushing and making it look as though they're really supportive of the families of these soldiers, military officers who died over approaching a year now. Nothing. They have been ducking and hiding the report from the black box. They do not want the family members, they do not want the nation to know what is happening. And so they're going to do all sorts of things to hug up and suck up the family members who have been grieving and still want closure on this matter. Why do you suppose, or what is your take on the PPP regime obviously attempting to hide something as it pertains to that accident, Dr. Hines?
Well, it's part of the modus operandi. I mean, the PPP never comes clean with anything that has to do with the governance of our country. And clearly, something went wrong that points in their direction. And so, therefore, they are not releasing this information. I think it is a form of disrespect for us as Guyanese. But in this instance, there are grieving families. There are families who want to, as they say, put closure to issues. And even if they don't want to tell the world what happened, they should at least level with the families privately. That they've not done so, I think, points to some kind of serious business that they're trying to hide.
Thank you so much, Dr. David Hines. They're hiding serious business. They're jiggery pokery with the nation. Every single thing is a corruption. Everything is deceitful from the PPP regime. And they are basically hiding the truth from the family members of these officers who were killed in that helicopter crash. And so as we approach the 1-year anniversary, just watch out for the PPP. Just watch out for what they are going to do in terms of playing politics. Dr. Hines, speaking of playing politics, 100,000 cash grant, 100,000. That too, they're playing politics with the people. They are not handing it out. All manner of suspicious activities in terms of who has to register, and you got to show a registration card, you got to be registered. Again, we use the term suspicious. How suspicious should all Guyanese be about that hoax about the 100,000 cash grant, oil cash grant that the people have not received as yet? Talk to us, please, sir.
Well, we need to be more than suspicious. We are now learning that this was never intended to be a cash grant. It was intended to be a path to something very political, and that political thing is to get the PPP the votes that they need to rig the coming election. This was never intended to be a cash grant. I repeat, it was never intended. First, they came out and they said it was $200,000 per family. And then they realized that that is not going to fit into their scheme. And so they said, well, okay, we're going to give it to individuals, but we're going to give it to individuals 18 years and over.
But let me stick a pin for a moment, please, Doc. When you say first the 200 per family,
yes,
and then we'll zigzag on that and then say 100,000 per household. But you've got to be
100,000 per individual.
Per individual per house, yes.
Yeah, 200,000 was for the household.
Yeah, thank you so much. But what exactly is their scheme? Talk to us. Expose their scheme.
Well, the scheme here is to get votes to rig the election. That is the scheme. This is not meant for households. This has nothing to do with citizens. It has to do with voters. 18 years and over is a voter. That is a targeted constituency. 18 years and over is a voter. If you were dealing with households, you would have to give it to people who are below 18 years old and who have families. And we know that in our culture, there are lots of teenage parents. We have teenage parents. Some of them have 2 children, 3 children. This is quite a normal thing in Amerindian communities, in Indian Guyanese communities, and in African Guyanese communities, where we have teenage families. Now, if you were interested in families, then you wouldn't say 18 years and over, because a significant section of our population falls in the category of teenage families. And so therefore, you don't intend to go to families. You don't intend to go to individual citizens. Again, you know, the young people will tell you 16 years old is legit, which means 16 years old is consent for sex, consent for this, consent for that, and 16 years old is not consent to get cash grant. So they're not interested in citizens, because had they been genuinely interested in citizens, then they would go from 16 years old. They are targeting voters. And the question is, why are you targeting voters? The immediate answer would be, well, look, we're targeting voters because we want to buy some votes. Well, the PPP is not foolish. They realize that there are not too many votes to be bought. Indian Guyanese have figured out that the majority of them, African people have already figured out how they would vote. Amerindian people already figured out how they would vote. There aren't too many votes to be bought. So buying votes via the cash grants is minimal. The cash grant is meant to collect data and to collect things that were used in the last election. Voter impersonation via people's ID card was a big thing in the last election. Madam Chairman just told us on Friday that she was sent 8,000 names. She sent 2 samples to the immigration officer, the chief immigration officer, the commission. One of the samples had 205 names. He sent back and said, of this 205, 173 people were not here. 32 were here. That represents 84.39%, almost 85% of the sample, of that one sample, was not in the country. Now, statistically then, if that is a guide, 85% of 8,000, 6,800. So potentially 6,800 out of 8,000 people were not here on election day. Yet they voted. Somebody had their ID card. Somebody. Now, even if you say, well, you know, the 85% may not be consistent. Let's say it comes down to 65% of the 8,000. That is still enough, right, to have given the PPP a seat at the last election. They won the election by a seat. Now, the AP and UFC, as you've shown there, they put it at 4,800 and something, which is equivalent to a seat. My suspicion, it's more than that. Because what the AP and UFC did is that based on the recount, they went and they did field work. And they were able to get 8,000, as old people would say, whether come from more there. And I rather suspect it was more than 8,000. And given what the immigration officer, the chief immigration officer, the commissioner of police at the time said, one has to come to the conclusion that more than 5,000 people voted. So a registration card, an ID card, is premium in terms of rigging election. We learned that from the 2020 election. So when the government said, look, to get this 100,000, all you need is an ID card and a passport. Yet when they went to distribute, they said, well, we raised the criteria. We want a screenshot, a picture of your ID card. And we want to know where you voted at the last election. Mark, you are in the immigration business. What is the relationship between ID cards, where you voted the last time, and collecting $100,000?
You know, Dr. Hines, you know their intention. Majority of our listeners know the intention is to corrupt the process, is to rig the system. Yes. They want to get your information. Yes. They want to get your ID cards. For example, those who are living outside of Guyana, first they started with this NIS to make it appear that they want people to get their pension. And then they want people in the US who are retirees to get their pension in Guyana. But yet the people who are living in Guyana, the thousands upon thousands of people who are living in Guyana, can't get their pension. They're being robbed and all manner of things. But yet they come to the US to say they're holding meetings in Queens, in Brooklyn, to get people's ID cards. That is what it is all about. Nothing else. It's a fraudulent system. And you are correct. Earlier you mentioned, and I've noticed some members in the audience, I'm not sure that many of them know that the age for sexual consent in Guyana is 16.
Yes.
16. So a 16-year-old can do whatever he or she wants to do. They can make kids and whatever a 16-year-old can do with a big old hardback man like Jack Deere or Irfan, right? And it's perfectly legal. And look, here it is. It says here, 16 years. In Guyana, the age of consent is 16 years. This means that a person below the age of 16 is not considered competent to give consent, not considered competent to give consent to sexual activity, even if they verbally or through overt actions agree to it.
And the importance of that, Mark, is that if the age of consent is 16 years old, it means that you can have sex. Then you can have a family at 16 years old. All right? And so therefore, if you are given to families, then you have to take into consideration these young people who are 16 years and over. But the one thing the 16-year-old can do, they can have sex, they can have family, but they can't vote. And the PPP
they can do everything, but yet they can have, and there are lots of 16-year-old folks in Guyana who have a family. They have children.
Yes.
But the PPP, because of the fact they know that a 16-year-old can vote, so they bypass them.
That's right.
And the trickery is to deal with 18 and above because they're trying to steal the votes. They're trying to rig the elections. Dr. Himes, they think people are dotish. They think people are not onto their tricks. I don't know. What do you think now? First of all, Jack Deere, when they were in the opposition, they want biometrics, all sort of thing he wants. He wants every single thing when they were in the opposition. Now, biometrics is the worst thing for the PPP. Biometrics is the worst thing for Barrett Jack Deere. We know why they are afraid of the elections. We know why they're setting to rig the process with this cash grant stuff and taking people's identification cards and all manner of things. We know they want to rig the elections. But talk to us about how come they're so afraid of biometrics. Doc?
Mark, you and I have been around politics long enough. I don't know whether you describe yourself as a politician, but I describe myself as an activist. You are an activist. We've been around. We know how the political mind operates. When the PPP and Jack Deere were calling for biometrics after the 2015 election, it was, they knew at that time, they felt at that time that biometrics would benefit them. They would benefit from biometrics. They are rejecting biometrics today because they would not benefit from it. They would benefit from lack of biometrics. What biometrics does is that it goes a long way towards decreasing the number and the instances of voter impersonation. And as we are saying, voter impersonation would have given them 1 to 2 seats at the last election. So if you were to bring in biometrics, as we would say on the streets in Ghana, you're cutting in on the run-ins, right? What biometrics?
And you know they have a lot of runnings.
That's right.
Political runnings, voters fraud. They're having a lot of runnings because they do. Thank you, all the country people know runnings, right? Because they know that they are going to lose the next elections, and so they're having a lot of runnings. runnings in corrupting the voting population, corrupting GECOM, all manner of things, Doc. But how concerned? Because suddenly Claudette Singh has a voice. She has been absent. She has been quiet for the longest time, longest while. But yet she was instructed by Jack Dew and Irfan to go out and say something. And the something that she said is in keeping with the agenda of the PPP. How dangerous is it that we have a GECOM chair that is partisan?
Extremely dangerous. And let me say something here. On Friday at the press conference, when asked about voter impersonation, she said, this is her own words, that if a court of law finds that someone voted who was not in the country at the time, it is a breach of the law. A breach of the law.
You know, but Doc, stick a pin. That contradicts her. When Keith Lowenfield, the chief elections officer, submitted his report, he excluded those who were not supposed to be voting, but voted. And she said, no. Send me back a report including all of those corrupt votes.
That's right.
So she's talking from another side of her mouth. Doc, sorry I interjected.
Yes, the important thing is that Madam Chairman and GECOM have been involved in cover-up of fraud. Now, when the PPP said, look, we think they're mistabulating votes from Region 4, what Madam Chair should have said is what she's saying now. She should have said, look, that is a matter for a petition. I can't do anything about that. But no, she didn't do that. She went to a recount. Now, when she went to the recount, and the coalition then were able to provide evidence not of attempted rigging, but actual rigging, she says, well, that is for a petition. So the tumult that you're talking about, all right? So she facilitated the PPP complaints. But in the process of facilitating the PPP complaints, she opened the door for coalition complaints. And the coalition complaints was not about attempted. It was actual. The police corroborated it. And she, as a lawyer, knows that that is a breach of the law. Yet she made a declaration with full knowledge that there are potential votes in the 47 boxes, about 10 to 12,000 of them. Vote impersonation, another 5 to 6,000. So about 18,000 votes in those two instances. The equivalent of almost 4 seats. Potentially, it's a breach of the law. Yet she made a declaration knowing that there is potential breach of law with thousands of votes. Thousands of votes. That is called cover-up of fraud. And cover-up of fraud is aiding and abetting fraud. No, all right. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. She said it needed to go to a petition. All right, fine. After the election, there was a petition. The petition got thrown out. So, all right, the coast is clear. Why GECOM, faced with these complaints from the PPP and the coalition, why GECOM and the Madam Chair have resisted an internal investigation of what the coalition said and what the PPP said happened? Why resist? The only reason that he resisted that is she obviously know that an internal investigation and review of the election would reveal evidence of fraud. She knows that.
And that evidence of fraud may include her as well. She may be complicit in that, because as we go back to, if you stick a pin, please, as we go back to this July 9th letter, she says preparation and submission of election report. She's directing, and she contradicts herself now in this recent press conference. She says Section 18 of the Elections Law to number 15 of 2000 stipulates that you are subject to the direction and control of the commission. So in essence, what she's telling Lowenfield that she is in control of him. And whichever direction she wants the elections, the report to go, that is what she instructed Lowenfield to do, which was to include all of the corrupt votes as well. That is what she did in this letter by instructing Mr. Lowenfield.
Yes, yes. I am ready to say that Madam Chair and the 3 PPP commissioners were complicit with a breach of the law, or breaches of the law, and knowingly so. Knowingly so. You cannot ignore the outcome of Order 60. Order 60 is what, Mark, well, you know the law, is an ordinance. An ordinance has the effect of law, even though it is not a law that is passed by the National Assembly. But it's an ordinance, it's gazetted. It's an official exercise with the stamp of legality. And that, in effect, the recount took the place of a petition. What the recount did is it unearthed the evidence that any petition would want. So what the recount in a backhand way did was to say, here is the evidence. So by the time you go to the petition, you don't have to provide evidence anymore. The recount is a very serious exercise. And the fact that she disregarded the outcome of a process that she signed on to and promised that would be an audit once you open the boxes. You're not opening the boxes to count raw votes. You're opening the boxes to do an audit of the votes. What is the quality of the votes in the box? Mr. Lowenfield, when he said 47 boxes with no document, all right, the legal advisor on Friday, what did he say? He said, when Dennis Chabral asked him, what does the law say? He says, the law says that you have to have the documents in the box. So if the documents are not in the box, it's a violation of the law. And if it's a violation of the law, it means that you cannot use those votes. To count those votes would be a violation of the law. And so Lowenfield was right. Vincent Alexander gave them a way out. He said, while this may be legal and lawful to separate those votes because they're tainted votes, why not do a by-election? They rejected that. They rejected even a compromise to have a by-election. And so Lowenfield was right. Those documents are very important. And let me explain why those documents were removed. The presiding office is supposed to put those documents in the boxes. Why did they remove those documents? Because those documents will have to corroborate what's in the box. And what those documents were going to show was that there were more votes in the box than what was recorded in the legal documents. So they take it out. Who took it out? Or if the presiding officer put it in, who took it out? Did the presiding officer not put it in? When she asked Lowenfield where the documents are, he said, well, the place they're supposed to be is Caldigen. That's the command center in the East Coast. He went to Caldigen, they're not there. So who took them out? Where those documents are? Did they burn them? Did they throw them in some trench? What? Are they stored at Freedom House? Where are the documents to this day? And if you cannot present those documents, it meant that somebody willfully took those documents out. And who would have benefited from removing the document? Because the documents would have been evidence. contradicting what's in the box. And that, the GECOM legal advisor said, is a breach of the law. And so Lowenfield was right. Those 47 boxes, you could not count them because according to the legal advice of GECOM, they represent a breach of the law. So if you count votes that are not supposed to be counted, they're not accompanied by the legal document, then it's a breach of the law. If you left Guyana and you come to America, you can't tell the immigration officer, I don't have a passport, I don't have my immigration document, I don't have the thing that the big envelope that's given the embassy. They turn you back. And so therefore, people voted and they compromised and tampered with people's votes. And it's a breach of the law, and you cannot count votes that are a breach of the law. That's why our appeal court said that they were not valid votes. Our appeal court was correct. Correct. And we are now learning this.
Dr. David Hines, thank you. I noticed there are folks who believe that Claudette Singh should be jailed. Can't disagree with that. She knows about, we can just assume, mind you, that based on what we're seeing in public's perception is that she knows about the corruption. She knows exactly what took place. One thing that is that I've observed, though, the PPP is running from exposing their SOPs. We know why. Apart from that, the PPP is also scared of the elections petitions. Yes, we know why.
Yes.
And so while they have a matter where these three persons and others are being persecuted, the PPP rushed to ensure none of the elections petitions are heard. They're the ones who wanted an elections petition. They're the ones who talked about the SOPs belonging to the APNU, AFC / WPA and other small parties, right? WPA. All the opposition, the then ruling party, APNU, AFC, WPA, everybody. They were saying they need to see the SOPs. Why were you guys hiding the SOPs? So now the PPP had an opportunity through the courts to allow the elections petitions to be heard, open the coalition's SOPs, open the PPP's SOPs, and let us see who did what. Let us see who did what. But you know what? The PPP are the ones who are afraid to open the SOPs now, not the coalition. They can't throw that blame on the coalition now and say, let the coalition show the SOPs when they had that opportunity for all of those SOPs to be opened in court. Apart from the court matters now, they rushed to have a kangaroo commission of inquiry, We know that was that was fixed in favor of the PPP. Then every single time Jack Dale has a so-called press conference, he talks about the matter, the court matter pertaining to these guys, as though he has evidence and all manner of things. How dangerous is this here? That we know the election's rigged, but yet these people are being persecuted every single time Jack Dale opens his mouth.
Very dangerous, because what they're doing is that they're constructing in the minds of citizens a portrait of the rigor, a portrait of rigging. And that portrait of rigging, as PNC marking it, now APNU, AFC marking it, it has mostly African mark on it. And it is very dangerous when you begin to do that, because what you're doing is that you are constructing a profile, an image of rigging. And in the process of doing so, you are criminalizing one secondary population while the real riggers are not criminalized. Mark, when the PPP said that their SOPs do not match what Mingo is doing, the place for them to have gone and present the SOPs was to the court via a petition. But they didn't want to go to a petition. So they bypassed the petition and they did a recount. Once you go to a recount, the SOPs are null and void. The Guyana election of 2020 was not decided by SOPs. It was decided by raw votes after the boxes were opened. And that process overrided the SOPs. SOPs are not valid anymore because the election was not decided based on SOPs. The PPP had a chance to present the SOPs to the court. Had GECOM done the right thing, the thing that is practiced before in Guyana and all over the world, is that you declare the election and complaints go to a petition. She should have sworn in Mr. Granger and tell the PPP, if you all think that it is, carry you all SOPs and SOBs to the petition in court. She didn't do that. She didn't do that. She opted for a recount. And once you opt for a recount, SOPs are no longer valid. What is valid is what came out of the audit in the box. And what came out of the audit is what you just put on the screen every night you're on.
Claudette Singh knew exactly what she did. She played into the hands of international folks, and she played right into the hands of the corrupt PPP regime. She has a conscience, and hopefully someday, I don't want to call karma and people or whatever. No, someday she knows exactly what she did, and someday hopefully she should be investigated in terms of electoral fraud in Guyana. Let's move away from elections fraud and let's go back into, well, this has to do with elections fraud as well too. So this is what the PPP is doing. They're going around all over the country, and every person they can catch, they can just dash a contract at them, whether it's 100,000, whatever. What is your take, Dr. Hines, on this so-called Bishop Edgell saying, groundbreaking development, 325 contracts signed today in Linden, totaling $4.2 billion. Now, this is a corrupt regime that doesn't give the people of Linden or Region 10 their proper subvention, hold back their subventions. Mind you, subvention is just about $75,000 every year. They starve the people of Linden of their subvention and all these things. But this is groundbreaking development, according to this corrupt PPP regime, of $4.2 billion to 325 contracts in Linden. Talk to us, please, sir.
Mark, like you, I grew up in a village. And since I was small, I hear about contractor. The contractor had a certain profile, is a workman, a tradesman, to build things and so on. And the contractor, they had about two, three people in Boxing Rise go up. They used to call them contractor, and they were real contractors. They were people who were very skilled at what they got contracts to do.
Yep.
What you today in papers, you open it. Who get a contract? Who get a contract? Sharon Das. And Sharon Das, as he's wont to do, he let the cat out of the bag. He said, me I know nothing but billing.
Wait a minute, Doc. Sharon Das, that guy from the AFC that corrupted the entire process, the AFC produced Sharon Das, has a contract?
A contract. He has a contract.
A contract to do what? Confidence contract?
To build a road in Cummins Lodge.
Oh, yeah, we know. Look, it's right here. Wait a minute. Former AFC member, he's probably still a member of the AFC. Who knows? The AFC, I don't know. But former AFC member Charandas Prasad on Sunday speaking to reporter at the event at Mobilisa Village. Charandas handed $50 million road contracts. So this Katahar, this Corey, this guy here, who is supposed to be a liar, is now a contractor? Talk to us, please, Doctor. I know.
So he said he know nothing about road, and what he did is he take the money and he hire a contractor. So he subcontract the contract. Mark, Oh, Jesus Christ, man. Tell me. I mean, even if you're doing skullduggery, do it properly, no, man. Do it in a way that you don't skin yourself up before the world. And that is what these people are doing. So when you tell me you giving a whole set of money to people in Linden, you are giving money to your people, but you are using a few Lindeners to pass the money through. So you just like how the contractor that Mr. Charandas hired, we don't know who the contract is, but we can guess who the contract is. The money was meant to go to that contractor, who I am very certain is a PPP man or woman or friend, but they use Charandas as what? As the conduit.
No, man. Charandas can't practice law. He's a very incompetent lawyer. Nobody don't thief sheep and goats no more in the quarantine, right? I don't know if they do that in Buxton. Sorry, let me leave Buxton. And so he cannot go to court. Nobody hires him as a liar. Nobody hires him. And so he's probably starving. Because the country, there's no job, people are starving throughout the country. And he's probably one of them who's starving because cost of living gone up and every single thing. I'm not the one who's saying it, you know, Doc.
Listen. Oh, Jesus Christ, if cost of living double, I don't know what happened. A pound of sugar is $300 already. Flour, everything gone up. Everything just raising. You got to give a $40,000 for buy good ration.
So Charandas is in pressure. Economic pressure, probably broke. And the PPP decided to give him a $50 million contract, which is just about what? 250,000 US dollars. So that's still a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. And
Mark, sorry, go ahead, Doc. Go ahead.
No, I was saying the key here is that they want to give Charandas a raise. And they said, look, Charandas, we're going to give $50 million. Out of the 50 million, 10 million is you own. We really want to give 40 million to a certain banner who's we people. So we're going to give you 50. You take out 10 for yourself, right? And pass on the 40 to the banner. That's the way they do it. I have spoken to people. That's what they do. They use people as conduits. So these people at Linden, what they're doing is using them to launder. Because that's what it is, money laundering.
Wait a minute, Doc. Wait a minute. So the PPP is using people, not just in Linden, because Buxton get one and two Pacu.
Oh, yes. We got a few of them in Buxton, yes.
Right? And not just Buxton, but throughout the country. So
yes.
Are you saying that the PPP is using these people to launder money, Doc?
That's what they're doing.
Talk to us,
please. What they're doing.
Talk to us.
And Charandas said it there in the thing. He said they're doing sheer stupidness. And without saying it, all he's saying is that, look, I get a raise. He's been used to launder money. And that's what they're doing with these contracts.
So if they're doing their stupidness, why then he took the 50 million? Because he should be embarrassed to take the 50 million.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I am not impressed with all the money where they say they're giving contracts in Linden. They catch a couple of buys in Linden and they say, here, come, we're going to give you a raise because we want you to take this. And then you subcontract 80% of it to we people.
That's what's happening. Guess where they have to buy the product from?
I was just going to that. Just going to that.
Not in Linden. So the money is the $4.2 billion is not going to be circulated in Linden. 95% of that going out of Linden. The 5% is what I'm buying. Going to eat little fried chicken, eat little watermelon, eat little Edo curry, Edo leaf, wild Edo leaf and thing. And that's it.
And drink 2 Guinness and Heineken.
And that's it. And the 95% goes into the hands of the corrupt PPP folks outside of Linden. And these individuals in Linden are being used by the PPP regime. I know some of them might be watching. So we eating. We still eating. We eating. They eat today and tomorrow. But what gonna happen next week? What gonna happen next year? There's nothing else. Y'all there for runnings, guys. Dr. Hines, you wanted to say something else before we move on?
Well, Bob Marley said, in the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty. If they're giving you...
I think there's a biblical quote too, you know. I think there's a biblical quote.
If they give you a set a mud water, a set of dirty water, in the old days in the village we used to call it dead water. The long time they used to bathe the dead when they carried them to park.
Yeah, and then they zinc the water running. Them tongue people won't understand that.
And then when you interfere, they throw dead water upon you. The people
them Georgetown people didn't understand them sort of things. Country people do. And so they used to bathe, right? They used good night to the people from town. Yeah, they used to bathe the dead, and then they put the body on a zinc. And then when the water used to run down now, right? As far as we used to say, we not drink, we not bathe, we don't even want to go in the yard anymore.
That's right.
And I think there's the water people like Jack there and here when they drink, they drink dead water.
Right. And they're giving these people, these stupid people at Linden who have to eat, they're giving them some water, but the water is dead water. They're going to drink them, and then when they're done, they get belly walk, then they get belly no more. And that's what Bob Marley said, in the abundance of water, the fool is because you're a damn fool. And
absolutely.
You're drinking that water, and the water not quench your thirst, you make you more thirsty.
Jack, they're into the water business. Oops. Hey guys, it's Dr. David Hines, these people, they keep exposing themselves every single day. Every single day. Let us in 2024, look what they're doing. They think people are pacus. Look what this one doing here now. Look what this minister housing. Look what this minister of housing doing. Roll up a piece of paper and tell the banner, push your hand in that piece of paper to pull out a piece of house land in 2024. And they see all of these things as a success story. We hear now government allocates 400 more house lots to Lindeners. Why all of a sudden they're running to Linden? They suddenly love Linden? They've ignored Linden for 23 years. Plus now they've ignored Linden, but they're running there. Remember in 2006, they stole a seat from the people of Region 10. Why they're so dark? Even though we might know, we want to hear it from you. Why this corrupt PPP regime is so fixated on Linden? Why?
Well, you have to steal votes, and you can't steal from yourself. You already got you votes, and you votes, you can't win the election by a wide margin with your own votes. So your votes got to come from other places. So you have to give the impression that you're getting votes from other places. And so when you go to Linden, which is the second largest a city in the country, New Amsterdam is not the second largest in terms of population, Linden is. So when you go to Linden and you say, look, we are giving Linden people thing. And when you get the inflated votes from Linden, you say, these people vote for us. You know a PPP man named Tara Singh, I think you know him from New York. Tara Singh was on some program. Tara Singh is a PPP man. Tara said, when he checked the numbers at Linden, at the local government election, the votes that the PPP said they have to give them the one seat. It didn't come from African Guyanese. It came from Amerindians who live in Linden. He said it's the Amerindians. Because you know Amerindian, when you live in Linden, you know they got Amerindian people in Linden. And it is the Amerindian people who gave them a few votes so they make up one seat. And they said, oh Lord, it's Lindeners, implying that it's African Guyanese in Linden, when it's not true. Tara Singh said he found the same thing in Georgetown. He said what happened in Georgetown is that in the constituencies where PPP supporters predominate or have a large large presence, what happened is that they increased their turnout. So increase Indian turnout in Georgetown with a decrease in black turnout is what gave them the extra seats in Georgetown. I didn't say that. This is a PPP man that said that. And he said when he carried to Jack Dio cussed you up. because he going against Gavio playbook. So they're targeting these heavily populated African Guyanese communities because if they're allowed to rig the elections, they will have to say they get vote in those places. And what is the evidence? Is that we give them house lot. And they're so stupid and thankful. We beat them up for 4 years. And then we go in and we say, push you on. Take out this piece of paper. And they're going to give you the vote. Give you the vote because of that. It's a disrespect for Black people that I find so nauseating.
Disrespect indeed, Dr. David Hines. And of course, majority of our listeners would agree that it is disrespect indeed. Now, I don't know Dr. Tara Singh understands the voting population so much in Linden. Dr. Tara Singh has been out of Guyana over 50-something, maybe 40 years. I am almost certain that Dr. Tara Singh has not gone to Linden. While we understand the corruption, and Dr. Tara Singh also understands the corruption, right, in the PPP in terms of rigging of elections, the evidence is quite clear, Dr. Hines, that the PPP are past masters when it comes to rigging elections. They have peddled that accusation against Burnham, but what they have done from 1997, 2001, and 2006, and 2011, and 2000, the evidence point in the direction that the PPP are master riggers of elections in Guyana. Now, you spoke of Amerindian. Of course, I'm Linden. You know, does this woman look like me? That is my great-grandmother, and she happens to be Amerindian from the Demerara there. So that's my beautiful great-grandmother. So yes, I know all about the population there in Linden because I'm part of everything there in Linden. And I'm almost certain that my Amerindian relatives, blood relatives in Linden, are not Pakus. They're not Pakus. The PPP cannot swear them, and the PPP would never be able to swear them. I just want to make that pellucid. That's all. Not to show off my grandmother. She kind of good looking, yes. My great-grandmother, all dressed up in her skirt and so forth. May her soul continue to rest in peace. We know about the corruption. We know about the PPP's agenda to rig the elections. But here's my question. Forget about the AFC. Forget about the PNC for now. Forget about the other parties. Tell us what your party, the WP, is doing to stop these riggers, these PPP riggers. Talk to us, sir.
Well, we have to play our role as all parties in the opposition have to do, is to play their role in mobilizing a critical mass of people directly and indirectly to stand in the way of the rigging. That should be the number one objective of all parties in the opposition. That is to use whatever voice we have, whatever reach we have, whatever little influence we have, whatever it is, whether it represents 1% or 91%, is to use it to build up and mobilize a critical mass of resistance to stop this potential and actual rigging. We cannot go to an election which is rigged before it starts. We have to go to an election because elections are the way that you are going to remove a government, and we have to remove the PPP. But we also have to make sure that we do not enter a race where we lose before we start. And so for us in the WPA, that is our primary job at the moment. That's our primary work. Now, one of the things that we have done over the last couple of weeks, we are now having a presence in the formal media. The Stabrook News has blocked us out. Maybe they don't like me. I don't know who they don't like, but they don't carry nothing for we. We called them out last week and so on. But the other media, well, don't worry, the Chronicle and the Guyana Times, I'm talking about the other media. They have been carrying our views. And so therefore,
you guys in the WPA, Dr. Hines, you say that the Stabrook News doesn't carry anything for y'all.
Nothing.
The Chronicle, forget about them. They're a waste of time and so forth. But let me make it public here, Dr. Hines, that Ben Chop Radio has never received an invitation to WPA's press conference.
That is not true.
That is true. That is true. Never. Never. So you guys are blocking us out too.
You probably don't check your email. I am the person that send out invitations. Yeah. I send invitations to you. I don't.
So your press conference, the WPA's press conference, is every Monday.
Every Monday at 11 o'clock. Right?
11 o'clock Guyana time.
11 o'clock Guyana time. 11 a.m. 11
Please,
yeah.
if we don't receive an invitation for your press conference 2 hours before the press conference, we're not carrying.
It usually goes out on Sunday. So I make sure, and I will call you and tell you, check your inbox to make sure it's there. But the point I am making is that our views on a number of issues have been, and the more the merrier. The more the merrier. If you beat up on the PNC, the AFC is there. If you beat up on the PNC and AFC, WPA. If you beat up on the WPA, every time you ask Jack Dio, the lady, the journalist asked him last week, so the WPA said, Car Power, which you bring the ship, is a corrupt company. Did you do due diligence? Well, I don't know if the WPA still exists outside.
Dr. Hines, don't do the guy that, man. That's not how he sounds. Don't do that. I can do a real impersonation of Jack Dio.
Give me it. Mark Benchop, you bad. No wonder the man, then you just go up the road. But you know, instead of saying we did not do due diligence, or yes, we did a due diligence, and because the WPA is nothing other than David Hines. Well, at least he used to say the WPA is defunct. And we said we are fossil before fossil. But now we're saying outside of David Hines, there is nothing. Jack Dio is not a fool. What Jack Dio wants is for the PNC to be by themselves out there, and they can beat up on the PNC and beat up on the PNC and get away. They do not like the fact that other political parties, other media agencies, what they now call social media, I don't call it social media anymore, alternative media, maybe, when all of us are on the front lines, they can't, because every time they duck so, they run into you. When you jam them and they go so, behind them is Sherrod, and the Joshua is the AFC, and we have to crowd them, and that's what we in the WPA are doing. Right? It's not about our party, all right? Although at the end of the day, you want as a political party to be able to say that people think that your voice is a legitimate voice. But for now, it's about preventing them from rigging the election and helping to mobilize a critical mass of people to stand in their way.
Thank you so much, Dr. David Hines, co-leader of the Working People's Alliance, the WPA. Also, officially the presidential candidate for your party.
Yes. The party has named me as a presidential candidate. It's a way. Let me explain what is it. You know, the WPA come out of this left-wing kind of story where we have never embraced the single leader story. We have always had collective leadership, co-leadership. But the society that we live in actually subscribe to the notion of the single leader. That's what is society. Right? So the presidential candidate is meant to respond to that tendency in our society. And the co-leader, because I'm both co-leader and presidential candidate, the co-leader is meant to reflect the traditional party notion of what leadership is. It's collective, it's co-leaders. So we are trying really to balance two tendencies in our society. But people have always People have always decided who's leader. I mean, some parties don't. The parties don't always decide who the leader is. Sometimes people decide who the leader is.
Thank you so much, Dr. David Hines. Even at always the last moment, you're ready to put on your battle gear to come on, and you should be on a little more often. Also, don't forget to send me that reminder. I will talk to our operator here at 107.1 FM to see if we can slide in the WPA's press conference, because it is quite useful. It is quite useful. It is just that I just want people to know that some of them in the opposition, they don't send me anything, and I'm not going to drop what I'm doing to go and look for anything. I'll be honest. If they need to up their game, they need to up their game via their PR. All of those in the opposition. This is not where you call somebody 2 minutes before and say, hey, air it. It doesn't work like that, please. Let's respect each other. Dr. David Hines, again, thank you so much, sir, for your time. And thank you so much for what you do also on your program, which is doing far better than that comedy show every Thursday at 2 p.m. Guyana time with that Tanti Morrow. Closing remarks, please, because we want Guyanese to know that that all eyes are on the PPP as they are attempting to rig the 2025 elections. Closing remarks, please, sir.
We have to do this together. The leadership can't do it on their own. We have to have people, whether you live in Guyana or you live outside of Guyana. And our priorities have to be right. Our priorities have to be right. Now is not the time to compete among ourselves as opposition parties. Now is not the time to compete against ourselves. Now is the time for us to show solidarity as opposition parties, solidarity as supporters of the opposition, whether, the opposition has Indo-Guyanese supporters, Amerindian supporters. Yes, the majority of supporters are Africans, but we have to show solidarity, and all our supporters have to come on board. Now is not the time to lick down one another, right? We can do our party thing while doing the nation thing at the same time. Because I am saying to you all, if this election is allowed to be rigged by the PPP, I'm predicting that the Guyana that we all want will not be the Guyana that will ensue after then. I love my country. I do not want to see my country destroyed. And so therefore, unfortunately, the burden of keeping our country as a sane and civilized place falls on those of us who are outside of the formal power structure. And so therefore, we have to have our priorities right. And our priorities is not to rationalize what the PPP is doing. Our priority is not to curse one another. Our priority is to link our hands and our hearts and bring our country back from the brink that the PPP has taken it. So let's do this together. There must be an attitudinal change on the part of opposition supporters. This is not time to say who party is big and who party is small and who party is medium and who party should get presidential candidate. Those things are important. But you can get a big presidential candidate if you don't win the election and get the PPP out of there. We are not doing ourselves a favor. So let's do ourselves a favor and let us stay together in this fight.
Thank you so much, Dr. David Hines, Professor Dr. David Hines. As always, and I know you say that show up, vote, be vigilant. Come on, guys. There's always a season for everything. There's a time to fight and there's a time for peace. There's a time for sticking together, and now is the time for sticking together. There's a time when you show your children, and there's a time when you hide all of your children. And then you pop up and say, these are my children. We leave you with that. These
Thank
are my
you very
children.
much, my brother. And thank for your audience. I see Benny Raymond is on tonight. Benny, always you're an old trooper, and it's good to see you're born in the midnight oil.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much to Benny Raymond and all others as well. And I agree with you that we're all together. It doesn't matter your ethnicity, whether you're East Indian descent, African descent, it doesn't matter your ethnicity. And I notice some people just, the hatred that they have for either side, it has got to stop. The opposition has a lot of East Indian Guyanese brothers and sisters, and we have to respect them. Simple as that. That is why I always play Anti-Data, and I respect Anti-Data. There are thousands more like Anti-Data out there. Dr. David Hines, thank you so much. And God bless you, sir. And good luck to you and your party. All right. David Hines here for you, Professor David Hines. We'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time, right here on 107.1 FM. And before we go, guys, be careful of the hustlers. Be careful of the flat-foot hustlers. You know who they are. We know what they're about. Be very careful with the flat-foot hustlers. Be extra careful with those flat-foot hustlers. All right. See you tomorrow, same place, same time. If you're celebrating a birthday, happy birthday to you, Nancy, and the entire crew, the dancing crew, all of you. All right, I can't call all of your names, but God bless you all. Keep hope alive, as Jesse Jackson would say, keep hope alive. And join me in I think, WPA member, one of Dr. David Hines' friends, Francine Cruz, the 4th death anniversary of her husband, the 4th death anniversary. So, Francine Cruz, we notice you're behaving yourself these days, and so we extend condolences. Of course, stay strong. Until then, and those of you, if you have a birthday, happy birthday. If you're, wedding anniversary, whatever it is, we are with you. Keep hope alive. Gotta keep hope alive. God bless you all.
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cop, and what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by 1 vote, they're losing it by data.
In all the regions and everything, don't make me where is the PS? Where is the PS? At the gate. He's at the gate because he came after 5:30. That's why he's at the gate.
Today, I'd like to talk about the harm and disastrous impact the current Vice President of Guyana, Bharat Jagdeo, has brought upon the people of Guyana. Everything he has done has been for his own benefit, never thinking about the well-being of the people or taking any action to improve their lives. Instead of helping the common people live a decent life, he has abused his power from 1999 to 2024 to embezzle at least billions of dollars of public funds, possibly even more. The ordinary people have suffered from unfair treatment and a disastrous quality of life because of him. He's a truly corrupt and evil person, using his special status to commit countless harmful acts against Guyana, all for his own gain. He even has a massive fortune in China, worth billions of dollars, all taken from the people's wealth. Today, I hope everyone becomes aware of his corruption. Let's come together, unite, and help the people of Guyana start a new chapter for a better future.
There and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Su. Oh, Su.